So this is our opening panel, Live and Alive, Operators Powering the Future of Poker. Without too much more from me, I will kick in. So I will ask Alex to start. Take the stage, sir.
Hi. I'm Alex Scott, and I'm the president of WPT Global. WPT Global is now the second largest online poker site in the world. Can we have a big cheer for that? Obviously, a lot of people in the room will be aware of what the World Poker Tour is, but I'm just going to give a little bit of background for the people who might not be aware of it, why it's special, why we're here talking about it today. So, as I was getting into poker about 20 years ago, the World Poker Tour was starting to air in the UK, where I grew up, and it portrayed poker at its very best. It was high-stakes poker, played in glamorous locations around the world. Like I remember watching it in the Caribbean, on cruise ships, in Las Vegas, in California. And it made stars out of people like Gus Hansen and Phil Ivey and Daniel Negreanu, who you still see today. The players who were the stars of the first poker boom, basically. And me and my friends who played poker together, we dreamed about playing on the World Poker Tour. We dreamed about making the final table, playing against people like Gus Hansen, flirting with people like Shauna Hyatt. It was poker at its very best, and it was a very aspirational thing. Since then, WPT has gone on to be broadcast in over 150 countries. It reaches hundreds of millions of viewers every year. It's a real poker sensation. Now, at WPT Global, we've been entrusted with this brand, and it's our job to represent that brand faithfully and do it justice. So together with the World Poker Tour, the reason we exist, our why, is we exist to make poker players' dreams come true. And we know that for different players, that means different things. For some, it's playing in the WPT World Championship in Las Vegas. But for some, it's playing a $500 tournament locally, right? And we know that we need to hit all of those bases. We need to support players at every stage of their journey. So we have, in our group, we have the WPT World Championship, one of the very best events of the entire year. And then we also have steps to get there. We have rungs on the ladder, if you like. So we have our own WPT 500 and WPT Prime events. And we also have a lot of grassroots partnerships. So there's an event running right now, a Playground in Canada. We have partnered with events like this. You see we are hosting players in some of the VIP areas of the Irish Poker Festival this weekend. And then we have big presences at events like the WPT Prime at Dusk Till Dawn a couple of months ago, for example. These partnerships are great for everybody involved. They're good for us as the online poker site because we know that players who participate in live events are more valuable, about 2.5 times more valuable. But they're also good for the venues. They bring players to the venue and help boost guarantees. Together, we succeed. And that's where I will hand off to the next member.
Thank you very much, Alex. Round of applause, please. Tom, would you kindly?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning. I just want to give a quick shout out and thank you to Fintan, Antonio, and the entire team responsible for bringing this together. It is a startup. Nothing great happens without being a startup. Gentlemen, nice job, and we hope this grows and grows exponentially over the next few years. You might be asking yourself, what does a guy who runs a playing card and merchandise company and marketing agency know about online and live poker? Up until about 4 or 5 years ago, not much, but I've had the privilege of serving as an executive consultant in the industry now for some great organizations, BetMGM, MGM, WPT Global for a little while as well, and some others. And whenever I come to a conference, I always try and take like one thing away when people speak. So that's going to be my goal here, is just to give you one thing to think about when it comes to online poker and live poker synergies. And really, it can be adapted across any organization, I think, and no matter what industry. For context, a few years ago, BetMGM, which really was the Party Poker US network, BetMGM is a company that is owned by Entain and MGM. They brought me on to help build some life from a marketing perspective into the brand and create the first omni-channel event or OnLive event between BetMGM Online Poker and Aria. MGM, obviously, prestigious live poker property. And one glaring thing that stood out to me across this entire experience was while the foundation of everything you need to be successful in terms of qualifiers, satellites, the right price points, the right times of the tournaments, the right package for players because you want them to use their share of wallet on a satellite for a prestigious live event versus an online prize pool event. All of that is super important, obviously. This was a $1 or $2 million guarantee at the Aria that provided online players in Jersey, New Jersey, sorry, I'm a Jersey guy, so I still say Jersey, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a variety of states in the US that are coming online with online poker again. Obviously in Europe, this online and live synergies have been going on for quite some time. And how do we attract them to actually spend their share of wallet on this type of live poker satellite? And what we learned really quick is that it wasn't enough to have a beautiful 5-night stay at the Aria as part of the package. It wasn't enough to pay for their airfare. It wasn't enough to say we're giving you a buy-in into a prestigious first ever event with a high guarantee. What it came down to was this one thing that made a huge difference in online results and live results. And believe it or not, it was the player experience. What could we do that no other competitor could do in terms of providing these qualifiers and experience above and beyond the standard package? So here's what we did. And I'm just going to kind of go through it: who, what, where, when, why, and then try and apply it to whatever you do in your line of work to think about how you could do the same thing. So what? Okay, you know what? We're hoping to have 75 to 100 online qualifiers. Let's bring them all together in some capacity for a free roll. Let's give them a free roll before the tournament. It could be 5,000, 10,000. Okay, that's the what. A little bit added value, right? Number two, where do we do it? Well, how about we do it in a venue that most poker players would never be able to play in their life? How about we do it at the prestigious Poker Go studio, right? And just have a very exclusive private event just for the qualifiers in the Poker Go studio. Who? Why don't we provide them access to one of the best poker players in the world? Brand ambassador, Darren Elias, all-time winningest WPT champion, to play with them in this free roll, to give them advice on what to expect in the live tournament. When? Well, let's do it the day before the big guarantee tournament, because what we learned is so many of these qualifiers, they never played online poker. I'm sorry, they never played live poker. They were nervous, right? So how do we provide them some comfort? How do we get them to get a feel of the game live compared to online? So we did it the day before the tournament. And the why behind this, what I realized was it wasn't just about the player experience for the online players, of why an organization should invest to do this. Yes, it made people feel great. It made people feel comfortable. It induced more traction in qualifiers and satellites. It created camaraderie online or on site and online. But for the operator, this provided a phenomenal medium for content to create FOMO. It actually also helped the relationship between the live operator and the online operator because it was something tangible that brought them together besides just a marketing campaign or just an operational meeting, right? After the entire championship, what is the one thing 80 of those qualifiers, or the vast majority of those qualifiers, looked back on and said, that is why I was here. That was the best experience of the entire time. It was that. It was that free roll with each other in the Poker Go studio with Darren Elias. The point I'm trying to make is, whether you're an online operator, live operator, or any business, those organizations that provide their customers an experience they can look forward to with excitement, and then you execute on that experience, and then those players or customers can look back on it with like amazement, like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I got the chance to do that. And this is the company that provided me that experience. You win their loyalty for life. And I think that is a big wave of the future for poker. It is a big wave of the future in terms of why customers will spend their dollars with an online company to enter a live event. And I just wanted to make sure that is one little nugget I was able to share today. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tom. That has been very impressive to hear, so thank you. Nataly, please. You pass your microphone down. Thank you very much.
I'll take this one. Yeah.
Thank you.
So my name is Nataly Sopacuaperu. I've been in the gaming industry for over 15 years. I started out at an online operator called Unibet back then, now the Kindred Group. I was heading up there the events for over a decade, and I was responsible for the Unibet Open, which is a smaller event, not as big as yours, but nevertheless it was big enough to get noticed in the poker industry, but small enough to do the crazy stuff. So what we did, or what I would like to go into, is how we more or less use the platform, and also the poker platform that we use that. How we use that as a marketing tool. So we didn't use it only for, we were not able to generate the big prize pools, and that's also that I didn't want to compete for. But what I wanted to compete for is having like this amazing experience as well for the smaller players that was out there. So that was our strategy, and that's what that was my job. To make it exciting. So what we did was, for example, organizing events for places that nobody's been to or thought of. So for example, we would go to Sinaia and have their ski edition. For us, the Romanian market was back then very important. So we were just doing something that we felt like, okay, this is affordable, this is unique, this is something that they would like. Another thing that we were doing as well is, for example, using the platform to empower women in poker. So we created the campaign Queen Rules. So what we did with that was basically changing the rules of the game. So the queen outrang the king. And what we did with that, we organized the International Women's Days around 5 casinos around Europe. Invited everyone in. And the good thing about that was what we were trying to do there is make people think about, and the interesting part was changing just one rule for that game. Everybody was messed up. Like the player was messed up, the dealers were messed up, everyone, the media was messed up because we just changed one rule. And I think that was the cool part about the Unibet Open, that we could create this platform and have this amazing player experience, not only for everyone basically who visited us. The other thing as well is that the live events and the online, so I would like to discuss that connection as well. The Unibet Open was used to be, the poker software of Unibet used to be a micro gaming. And when it became a standalone software, so we went to Relax Gaming. That was in 2013 or 2014. And what was interesting to know about that as well is that the Unibet Open, so the live tournament offering, was basically keeping the poker ecosystem in place. So it just shows how important live events can be for an online operator as well in that area. So that's just my share. I wanted to just show how you can use live events as well as a marketing tool.
Thank you very much. Round of applause, please, for Nataly. Andreas, are you ready?
Yep.
Your clicker is there beside you, sir.
Thank you. So, hello everyone. I'm Andreas from PokerLoad. So today I would like to discuss the big difference between the live and the online operators and their unique selling points from different perspectives. So what does an online operator has as a unique selling point is convenience, I believe, as everybody thinks here. And in few clicks, you're online. So what makes then on the different aspect the live operator as a unique selling point? The blend of emotional intelligence, the human interaction and everything makes a special experience, right? For everyone. But then again, you see the statistics show that 33% of the poker players only prefer to play live. And then again, we go back to convenience. So there is where we came in as PokerLoad, and we tried to make things more convenient for the players and enhance the customer experience. So I think, and our main mission is to enhance the poker players' experience at the land-based operators. Our main vision is to become the main community for the offline world of poker. And as many of you, I believe, you've visited land-based operators, you came most probably across these problems. Either go and queue up on a long waiting list, or find no game of your preferences or stakes, or even find no game at all, and end up by traveling 45 minutes to go to the poker table and another 45 minutes heading back home. So, and then again, there's different preferences for each player. So there's a cash games players, there's a tournament players. And then in order to maximize, let's say, the customer experience, we came up with a platform that accounts into the solution all stakeholders of the poker industry. So we created a CRM platform for the poker rooms, where they can manage and monitor their players and ongoing games. And they can publish them on the mobile app, the PokerLoad mobile app, where players can find all about nearby poker venues, book their seat, pay online for their entry to a tournament, and even book a taxi to take them from the place that they are to the chosen casino poker venue. So more or less, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to enhance the customer experience, and I believe that there is a big interest for the land-based operators to blend technology in order to enhance the customer experience, and again, they need to use as well the online presence to cross-sell their land-based experience. In the aspect, let's say, having online satellite events where you can bring in customers and offer them exclusive packages to the players and visit the casinos. So that's it from my end. I hope you enjoyed.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
And as a closing, I would like to thank Antonio and Edge for organizing this. It's a big opportunity for us in the poker industry. Poker is a completely different game from other casino games. So we need to give that niche a bit of an extra value. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Round of applause, please. Now, Aleksandrina, please.
Is it on? Oh, yeah. Pleasure to meet you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the invitation. I am not in poker myself, but of course I've been in gaming for a while to see that is always there. It's part of the industry world. I live in Malta. There are many events that are being organized in Malta. I did work for Entain at some point in the RG department, and I was analyzing player behavior, which included poker players. And that's one of the points of view that I want to offer, just to think about responsible gaming, mechanisms to increase trust in the brand, because I believe that's something very important to think about. I saw how players play poker, like they can stay for 12 hours and then they can continue in another tournament. So it's important that there's someone there that's watching and maybe raising a question like, do you actually feel all right continuing for that long or spending that amount of money? And in my experience, this is something that really increases trust to the brand. And the other point of view that I would like to offer is from casino games, what can we take? What can you take to enhance your brand or your offering from a technology perspective, from the visual perspective of it? Because gaming it has many things to it. I myself, I sell slot games, but I also now sell instant games. So there are many also cross-sell opportunities that can be just considered. And Avatar UX, which is the company I represent, that's the brand identity to enhance the user experience of the player. How can we make it more special, more custom, more different, more immersive, more standing out? So yeah, I've been in gaming since 2011, mostly in slot providers. I do have some insights to share. To me, this workshop is about brainstorming, like what can each of us take and implement to make their product or the experience that they're offering better. And I think it would be interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aleksandrina. Now, finally, Andrei, would you kindly?
Thank you. My name is Andrei Alecu. I am a...
Sorry, your clicker.
Sorry. Okay.
We knew something was going to go wrong.
Yes. So I'm Andrei Alecu. I am representing Let's Poker, which is something I founded around 10 years ago. And I got the pleasure to work with PokerStars, Unibet Open over the years and grow it into something. And I will explain how over the next few slides. So a little bit about myself. The clicker doesn't... Okay, sorry. Okay. So I'm the founder, CEO, and CTO of Let's Poker. I wear many hats, as a lot of entrepreneurs have to do. And I started programming when I was very young. And actually, that is not a lie there. You can go on my LinkedIn and check it out. I have actually 25 years of experience. I'm 38. I started actually programming when I was 8. I work for quite a lot of those companies were running my code at some point in time. And then around 12 years ago, I decided to take a sabbatical from my job as a lead software developer for this New York-based software company. And at the same time, poker was becoming legalized in my home country, in Romania, actually, in Romania. Nataly mentioned an event there. And there was a big boom at the time. I started playing a little bit of poker, then I played a little bit more. And I started seeing a lot of problems, for which I could see a lot of solutions, but researching the market, I couldn't find any of those. So what were the problems? So first of all, there were huge lines for registrations. That was one of the main issues, and they didn't have any digital system to make registrations and get them to move faster. They had a big stack of papers they would write with a pen that you would then have to go somewhere else. You would never know where you were going to go, so it was a huge mess. It was frustrating players. Besides this, because there was no digital system, there was no table balance. So you would go to some random table and then you would see that there are 4 players at that table and 8 at the other table. And when re-entries were made, you didn't know where to go. And for a poker player, what was most frustrating was that for myself, the clock was only updated once every hour or so. So you had no idea how many players are still playing. And this is still a thing that is going on in a lot of events today. And I decided to take this and fix it somehow. And I started Let's Poker as a side project. I gave it to the organizer I was playing at, the festival organizer, and let's see what happened. So, first of all, I had to first create a system for registrations, but this is much more difficult than it seems because the system needs to know which seats are available. So in order for it to know which seats are available, I had to create an entire tournament management system, which had to replace the clock, had to replace absolutely everything. And it had to be able to track which seats are free and assign those as re-entries were made and so on. So this improved the process many, many times. Also because of this, everything was in real time. You could see eliminations as they were made. And if someone would register, you could see exactly that the count would go up, the number of players or rebuys would go up. So this also added a lot of transparency to the event, which didn't exist before. The players would always, they didn't know is the prize pool accurate, or they're stealing from the prize pools or whatever. So now you could verify this. Then what happened was in June 2015, around a year later. So I started this, I checked now, I started it in May 2014. And in June 2015, we had this event. You can see here a clock. This is a video I took. There is something that is going to be interesting here, which was an innovation at the time. So this tablet. Now every dealer had this app on their table. Just the clicker has some issues. Okay, so this tablet, so they could see where everyone is sitting. They could see all their profile photos there, so they could verify that players are sitting where they should be. They could eliminate players directly from their tablet, which was unheard of before. So now you could track exactly which seat is empty in real time without extra personnel. You could call the floor, you could enter rebuys, you could enter chip counts. So this chip count thing was what actually started another poker boom. I will go into that a little bit later. They could see the exact blind level, the tournament clock. A lot of things were possible on this. They could break tables, they could balance tables, a lot of things. So this was June 2015. And not a lot of systems have this even today. Now, also in 2015, I first created the Let's Poker mobile app. So because this was already in the backend and the system was cloud-based, which is also something new, you could run it on everything. You can even run an entire festival on your phone or an iPad or something. The full schedule of events was available in the app. So before this, side events would always get canceled. People didn't know about them, they didn't care about them. And because of this, side events started growing to something great. And they got more attendance in side events than the main events because of this app in the player's pocket. They could see the tournament clock in real time. So this was important when going, for example, on a break. You could come back, you would know exactly when you have to come back. You could see the total number of players still in, the prize pools. Of course, the blind structure was there for you to see. You would know when the breaks are. And as I mentioned earlier, you could see exactly who is playing and their chip counts. So this quickly became viral because of this. Players were checking their friends' stacks all the time. They could see at the final table who is playing the final table of a random side event, or if my friend is still in a satellite. So this also created less longer bets between players, and it was a huge deal at the time. So this is another event in December 2015, which had more than 1,000 entries in the main. It was a huge stress test for the system. So there were 60 poker tables running at the same time. The system, Let's Poker, managed everything. So main event, side events, satellites, cash games, everything. They had a tablet on all of these 60 tables, and the players could, for the first time, see everything in real time on the app. So this was quite amazing. And as Tom was saying earlier, this was a new experience for the foreigners that came for this event. Then they got they got hooked to the games in Romania. They came back over and over because of this thing. So it created a big community in Romania, which started snowballing from there, and it has been growing ever since. So then in 2016, PokerStars trusted Let's Poker with the Eureka Poker Tour. You can see there the tournament clock. They also had, of course, tablets on the tables, and I remember discussing with Thomas Lamac, who was the PokerStars tournament director at the time, and he couldn't believe that this existed because they've been trying to improve what they had at the time for many years, and they decided not even to bring it for this event because they saw how much better Let's Poker was at the time. And then in December 2016, we had the Unibet Open. Nataly is here. So it was one of the ones in Bucharest. You can see here a tournament clock. It was a split screen, side by side. I don't think even now a lot of tournaments have this. I mean, a lot of the tournament management systems, which is a simple thing, but it greatly improves the quality of life of the organizer, the players as well. You can see them, you can split it in up to 4. And of course, you had the app in your pocket at every point, which was super important. Now, what is Let's Poker today? So today is a cloud-based management platform that has absolutely everything. It has tournament management, cash game management, player databases, KYC for legal purposes. You can track cash game hours, for example. You can see even tournaments, what tournaments over time. You can verify your attendance, cashier, points, everything. Leaderboards, cash game leaderboards, tournament leaderboards, which you can generate leaderboards in a way that is now using ChatGPT. Actually, you can tell it what you want it to do, and it will create a leaderboard with that, which is quite, you can do some very creative things. And the Let's Poker app, which is a complete real-time marketplace for these events. So everything, like I mentioned, is now published on this app. It's in real time as well. It's kind of the core of the product that I invented 10 years ago is still there. Now it's been improved a little bit more. You can even order food now on the Let's Poker app or drinks directly to your table at a big festival, which is also quite important, I guess, for some players. For me as well, was important. Here, now Let's Poker today is in 17 countries around the world, on 5 continents. We started in Romania, like I mentioned, spread across Europe, and then Israel, then Australia. There are some smaller poker clubs in the United States as well, one in Canada, in the Caribbean. There is also something happening in Nigeria now where poker is booming, and we'll have more clubs there soon. And we will be adding a couple of more, but I cannot talk about them for now. You will see. Follow Let's Poker on social media. And there is this thing about the app. So the Net Promoter Score is 83, based on more than 6,000 responses, which I don't think is heard of before in this industry. More than 3,000 5-star reviews, and this is not manipulated in any way. Trust me, it's for real. And we don't even try to get reviews from the people. This is just what they do. So it's 4.9 on each of the stores so far. And something here for perspective. So the Handle Mob publishes every year how many visits they have. I think everyone knows the Handle Mob. And they are the Handle Mob and Global Poker Index. So they have 5.8 million visits every year. Site visits. This means someone gets to the Handle Mob, browses around. They get there from Google, probably. So now Let's Poker has 2.8 million total app sessions. This is half of the Handle Mob, but app sessions are very hard to get. You have to install an app, you have to open it, and these sessions last for 1.2 minutes on average. So this is not just usually the analytics they track a session usually when it's at least 2 seconds, but this is more than a minute every time. So those are more than 3 million minutes used of players using the app in the last 12 months. So of course, I love the Handle Mob, but I think there is a lot of potential here, and this was is growing a lot lately, and of course it's growing and growing and growing. I think it will improve quite a lot because there are only still around 30 poker clubs on Let's Poker now. 30, just 30. So imagine 300. Okay, so there is obviously making your players happy is super important for the bottom line. You can create much bigger events. This is already confirmed in Romania. And for example, Greece had the biggest ever poker festival just this month. It was run with Let's Poker. And 4 other countries that I know of had the bigger ever poker festival, and it was managed with Let's Poker. You can send push notifications, you can send overlay notifications, which are emergency notifications, and you can basically save thousands or even more just with a single notification. You can find active tables all the time. This was also important. You can get on a waiting list. This was super important for me because I was getting annoyed having to call the poker room all the time. Do you have any tables? Do you have any tables? And I would stop playing because of this. I had to fix it somehow. And obviously adds a lot of players hours. And this is a case study of our customers that there is a calculator on the website with which you can calculate the profits. Yeah, so thank you. That was Let's Poker. Get in touch.
Round of applause, please, everyone, for Andrei. So, do you want the good news or the bad news?
We have a lot of time.
You have a lot of time. So, audience questions, please. Has anyone got a question first and foremost? You've listened to these wonderful people speak. I'm sure there must be something a lot of you would like to further dive into. Okay. So I guess that's my job, I suppose. Opening question. So amongst the 6 of you and your different backgrounds, your different experiences, I know, for instance, Alex, yourself and I worked for PokerStars, which would have given you quite a big insight over the years to how the industry worked on a large scale. I'll start with you then. What issues and what unforeseen challenges have you run into leading the WPT into this next phase? And what lessons have you learned from that you think could be transferred, not just in the immediate future, but that the whole industry could look forward to in the future?
But before he answers this, can we get him a pint of Guinness?
I'm going to need one. Unforeseen challenges. The problem with unforeseen challenges is that they're unforeseen, right? You got. Look, we are only 2.5 years old. We still are very much a startup, and we encounter challenges all the time. I think the important thing is the mentality that we have is we see those challenges as an opportunity to experiment and try new things. It's very important for us that we're not out here just being a smaller PokerStars or a smaller GG Poker. We know that people aren't looking for that. They're looking for something that's genuinely different from the market leaders out there at the moment. So yeah, we see each of these challenges as an opportunity to do something different, to measure it, to see what works, and to throw away the stuff that doesn't work and keep the stuff that does. And we are continually doing that all the time. That's part of our culture. We're also a very forgiving culture when it comes to making mistakes. If you make mistakes in our business, but you do it with the right mentality, the right mindset, and you learn from those mistakes, then that's absolutely fine. What we don't stand for is people who don't try in the first place.
Thank you very much. Andrei, same question to you, please.
Can you repeat the question again? So
what challenges and unforeseen lessons and basically trials have you faced leading your company forward, and what lessons have you learned from that you could take forward?
Mm-hmm. Well, I discovered that live poker can be much more difficult than I thought it would be. So I think actually live poker is harder to manage than online poker because it's an analog process. It's an analog game to play live than play online, where the rules are very well defined. You have rebuys and sitting at the table. There cannot be mistakes. In live poker, a lot of mistakes happen. So every event that goes in a live poker event, like from the technological side, needs to be able to be undone somehow because everyone makes mistakes and they make a lot of mistakes. So the dealers and everyone, they have to be able to fix everything. And there are also network issues. Maybe the internet in the festival is bad. So you have to be super, super careful with how you design the software and to be able to be very resilient. And there is another thing. For example, Let's Poker is on all time zones. So it's in Australia, Europe, and America. And it has to have 100% uptime. You cannot go down when there is an event somewhere in the world. So that was super complicated as well to be able to have an uptime that I think beats so far in the last 10 years. There was no downtime. So once the cloud provider went down, but that was the only thing, and I was able to switch it to somewhere else and fix it. But yeah, I realized that live poker, there is no coincidence that no one else did this so far at this level. I think that's live poker because it's super, super hard, and there is not a lot of money in it also. So it would have cost multiple millions of dollars to do this with a different team, which is hard to get back, I think, because there's not a lot of money in live poker, unfortunately. So still, but there is a big potential to basically reinvent the live poker market. So I think, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. For Tom and Andreas, question I have for you is this. How much of a labor of love has been your respective companies and products going forward? There wasn't a lesson, there wasn't a manual you could follow when you both started out. So how much of it that a lot of people don't understand because of the levels you're both at now was just hard grind, perseverance, and a labor of love to bring your particular products to where they are now? I'll start with you, Tom. You have the mic.
Yeah, so I'll briefly talk about Faded Spade and Above the Felt, and I'll try and relate it to OnLive and the consulting part. So I think to have a business in this industry, like, you have to love poker. You have to be in love with the game on every level. It's a game of failure. 85, 88% of the time when you play a poker tournament, you are not making any money, right? Guess what entrepreneurship is? It's a game of failure. Most businesses go under in the first couple of years. So the biggest thing I learned from the entrepreneurship part is the only thing that gets you past all the failure and the failure and the failure is passion and persistence and heart. And then eventually you succeed. Then you fail a bunch more and you succeed. And you fail a bunch more and you succeed. But in this industry, I would venture to guess, I'd put money on it, that anybody working in the poker industry loves the game. Otherwise, what are we doing here, right? Like, you have to have a love for it. So passion, the love for it, the game having a deeper meaning than just being a game, I think that's critical for anybody that has a business in the poker industry. In terms of OnLive and live, when you are working with an online operator and a live operator, guess what? They don't always agree and they don't always have the same goals. In fact, sometimes the goals are completely different. Quick example, online operator. I want every single one of my qualifiers to be able to play any day one they want of this live tournament. Day 1A, day 1B, day 1C. Live operator. No, I want everybody day 1A. Why? Because that's going to help the guarantee. That's going to help the momentum for 1B and 1C. That's going to attract more professional players to play day 1A when they otherwise wouldn't. Complete disconnect. How do you get through those conversations? How do you build commonality through that? You have to bring everybody back to the passion they have for the game, remind everybody who they were when they first started out in the game, and make decisions based on that original passion for the game. Find that commonality. So whenever there is a disconnect in live and online poker, just remember, everybody started out the same way in some capacity for a love from the game. Bring everybody back to that, and you'll have some success.
Thank you very much. Andreas, to you the same question.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Tom just said. You need to have a passion about this game in order to invest yourself in it. But I personally believe there is big struggles in joining this industry because it's a specific niche in the gaming industry. all the operators, even online, land-based, you name it, they tend to have poker as the least revenue source, and they lack in getting the opportunity from poker to cross-sell to other casino games. And that's one of the biggest challenges that I found is making the land-based or online operators to invest more in poker. And the problem is that they don't see the opportunity. They don't see the statistics that, you know, the new generations, when they tend to gamble, they want to gamble wiser. And that's why slot machines now, the biggest customers are 60s and above. So the statistics are there, and then they show that there is a big potential in poker. But we need to make the operators see this potential and embrace it. So that is, let's say, the biggest challenge in starting in this industry. And the other biggest challenge is that anything that has to do with gaming, you are a red flag especially in the EU, which is overregulated. So having especially a startup that hasn't have any accreditation or well name in the famous name in the industry or whatever, is a big challenge, to open even bank accounts or approach bigger operators in order to have you as a client and everything. So I believe that you need to have a persistence, believe in your idea, and try to get in other shoes so that you can make them see the opportunity in the poker. That's it. That's what I think.
Thank you. That's very informative. Ladies, I haven't forgotten about you, so I have a question specific for the two of you. What transferable talents and what transferable benefits do you see from other verticals that poker can look from? Poker historically has tried to stand alone from the other gambling verticals, and in a way that helped you grow a more traditional, more rigid and staunch player base. But as we move forward, sorry to cut across, but as we move forward, many of the speakers have already talked about the benefits of cross-sell. So what do you think that other venues, other verticals, the lessons and the insight they could bring to poker that poker should listen to?
So we ventured into the esports. That's something that we did. But it's a tricky one. I think anything with gambling requires age restrictions. From the regulation point of view, it's very difficult. But we ventured in that. So we had, for example, an esports challenge where we invited sports streamers to get them into the poker game. It was very successful, but at one point we were like, okay, maybe that's not a good idea because you can't really, how do you say, take out like the
you can't restrict by age.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so that was the difficult part about that. So yeah, you have to be creative in that perspective, but that was one way where we could link it to the sportsbook product. That's something what we did. When it comes down to casino, what we did was having a Unibet Open Slots machine online, where we also gave away some tickets. So this is another way that you could do it. So you can, link it right there to get them into the poker product and the other way around. So these are just a few examples that I can give and what comes to mind at this point. But yeah, for the future, I think now, the live part is where you really need to look at where we can grow. I'm just figuring out myself now in my sabbatical what to do. So yeah, I hope that gives a bit of an answer.
Ms. Dimitrova, to you the same question?
Yeah, so there is the tendency that we see in casino that players want to play faster and faster and faster. That's something that, let's say, it's a limitation of having real people around the table that you have to wait for them to make a decision. In slots, we do offer this fast play as an option. and this is something that is in particular attracting high rollers to be able to bet large. For example, like you can play a lot with bet levels, different. Maybe you can add different games in the same window. So if I'm a poker player and I'm being bored because it's the same thing happening again and again, so if let's imagine I find it at some point hard to keep focus. So it is something that could be taken not only from casino, but also Facebook and Netflix are introducing these small mini games that just something to play for a while, just to keep yourself sharp. That's another thing. There are many things that can be considered, of course. Visuals, when it comes to visuals, making it unique, just making it stand out, is something that has worked well for us. And now we're introducing customization. I'll talk about it on Thursday, which is unheard of, let's say, in slots on the visual side. But maybe on the poker side, it's not that uncommon to have custom settings on how something should look like. So these are just first ideas that come to mind.
Thank you very much. I have a wide question for all of you, so I'd all like you to have a stab at it, please. What sets you apart from your competitors? Let's be pleasant here, but across the board. So we'll start with Andreas. We'll just go down in order, chairs. What sets you apart from your competitors?
So I believe what sets us apart from competitors is that we're trying to build a community, rather a community, instead of just a platform to serve the land-based operators and the players. So by building a community, then it unlocks different features for the players and for the land-based operators, actually for all stakeholders of the poker industry. And that is our unique selling point, because through the community, land-based operators can bring also more customers from around the globe. So yeah, that's I believe that's our unique selling point from competitors. Of course, we will have unique features that are upcoming. I cannot disclose right at the moment, but we have innovative features that are upcoming in the next few months, which will further enhance the experience for the players at the poker rooms.
Thank you. Nataly, please.
So I just want to be clear, I don't work for the Unibet Open anymore, but so yeah, what I think what set it apart was basically we, as I mentioned, we couldn't really compete with the big, with the big names in terms of like prize pools and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, what we did was basically focusing on the player experience and indeed the community building. And you could see that as well. You could see then the kind of players that would come back. I think it had like a very loyal customer base. I think like we had at one point players that joined in 2007. And in 2023, they were still coming. So we did something right there. So I think, if you can't really do focus on the big names, the big prize pools and all those things, then you need to be creative and think out of the box and focus on the stuff like the player experience. We really had to nail that one down, and I think we did. So yeah.
Mr. Scott, please.
Do we actually have a name for the things that make us different? And ironically enough, it's called WPT Global Edge. I keep coming back to this word edge. I named the loyalty program at Full Tilt Poker years ago, Edge as well. Something about edge just goes through my life, I think. So the three things that make us really special. The first is our relationship with the World Poker Tour and the way that we help players to fulfill their dreams with that relationship. The second is we believe we have the safest poker games available anywhere online. And that's because we invest more in game integrity than anybody else does these days. We have more people working on it, and we invest multi-million dollars every single year into keeping our games safe. And that includes developing state-of-the-art AI technology, which brings me to the third thing, which is we guarantee that every cash game is a great game. And this is something that really differentiates us at the moment, because if you play on Stars or GG or any typical online poker site, most of the time when you sit down in a cash game, you're going to be up against some really, really tough opposition. And the way that we balance our cash games, again, using AI technology that we call fair game, guarantees that every single cash game table has the perfect balance of novice players and experts. So those three things, our WPT Global Edge, are the things that make us special.
Thank you.
I would agree with all that as well. I was really hoping I wouldn't have to directly promote Faded Spade or Above the Felt, but I will.
Apologies.
But I will.
Best laid plans.
But I will. I was like, man, no, this is great. I'll just talk about the consulting. Briefly, Faded Spade, best poker playing cards in the world, preferred playing cards of the World Poker Tour, now the Irish Poker Tour, a variety of others, built from a place of passion, by poker players, for poker players, and I am so excited about the international expansion to Ireland and UK and continental Europe now to grow upon the success we've had in North America. Above the Felt marketing agency, you know, not only do we work with top poker talent in the world, but also, you know, I think the things we've done for companies have actually moved the needle. So when someone chooses to work with us as a marketing agency, we're able to show through case studies that we've helped them drive business, new player acquisition, existing player reactivation, and that makes me really proud. In terms of this topic, live and online operators, through the consulting I've done, the companies that differentiate themselves are truly the companies that give a shit about the player experience, that really put money into it, that it's not just a talking point, like they do it through action. And when the online operator and the live operator have the same vision for something, and that vision transcends the whole industry, players feel it. And we've all seen on social media what happens when people don't focus on the player experience and they put the organization first, right? We've all seen it. And then what happens when organizations actually put the player first? They win their loyalty. So I would say that is the way to differentiate yourself. We're smart as players. Our job is to read people sometimes at the table. We know when we're being fed a line, and we know when organizations actually believe in it and execute it. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
Yes. So Let's Poker does it. Okay. So for Let's Poker, what differentiates everything is that I didn't have any connections with the gambling industry before this. I only wanted to do something better for myself as a poker player. So, and it's also a bootstrap project. I didn't have any investment for it. And it's survived for 10 years now. It went through the pandemic where basically nothing happened for 2 years. I lost all the customers. I had no income for 2 years, and that didn't stop me. I even accelerated. So yeah, there is this, and there is this thing about the CEO of Google that said at some point that I've worked with developers all my life, and I always try them to do what I wanted, but they never do what I want. So that's one thing that I know poker, and I also know poker from an organizational side. I went behind the scenes and I got involved with absolutely everything, even moving tables around for a couple of years. And I knew all the pain points and also the players' pain points, and I'm also a developer with 25 years of experience. You can check it on my LinkedIn. And this thing, and I remember going to the ICE Gaming Expo in London. There was one of the two American competitors of Let's Poker there. And this was in 2017. So if you remember, in 2015, I had that tablet on the table, and they were working on a prototype of a tablet on the table, and it was probably years away still. And someone asked them, I was with some people, and they asked them, okay, how much does this cost? It costs 10 times as much as Let's Poker, maybe more. And they said that, frankly, we are trying to get our developers to do what we want, but they don't get it. So there is a lot of disconnect between developers and what they need to actually do and how to design things for a good product. I think that's one thing. And I don't know if I should say this or not, but
Too late now.
Yeah, so at some point, GG Poker wanted to acquire Let's Poker to put it on the WSOP, but I think that was not a good idea at the time. I want this to be a global product and not just a WSOP thing. I don't want to work for just someone. I want to work for the entire community. So yeah.
Thank you. You get two mics.
Yeah. What sets out our UX games apart from our competitors is that we have our own unique mechanic. That's the most basic thing. But what can be useful as information for everyone else is, and what is actually even more setting us apart, is that we have built our own community where we get direct feedback from players before we launch a game, after we launch a game. And it's because of this feedback that we've continuously improved our product. We also have quite good relationships with streamers and with affiliates. So we organize marketing activities with our partners to gather that feedback. And that feedback is the essence of our product agenda. Because in the beginning, everyone wants to create something different. Of course, everyone has their own vision. But the reality is we're doing this for players. And the best way to learn is and to engage with reality and to match it is to gather that feedback.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Has anyone in the crowd got a question, please? You, sir.
Hello, my name is Alexei and I'm from Ukraine. I'm a player of national Ukraine poker team. We have such interesting thing in Ukraine, and yesterday I was in Paris and I played at the final table on WPT event. Thank you, and I would like to prove that everything was very well organized. And I have a question to Alex. Despite the war in Ukraine, we're trying to develop poker, and we have enough success. And we played their GG platform, so Poker Stars, but we can't see WPT Global. Why? We are the second platform in the world, as you said, and we would like to play there too. And I would like to ask you, do you have some plans about Ukraine and maybe louder about CS market? Thank you.
I'm really glad you enjoyed the WPT Paris event and congratulations on the final table. So yes, look, we would love to operate in Ukraine in the future. It's the reason that we're not in Ukraine right now has nothing to do with the war. It has everything to do with the fact that Ukraine is a regulated market, and so far the only regulated market that we've entered is Mexico. We do have a plan to enter essentially every regulated market over the next few years. When we do that, we have to take into account the size of the market, how potentially profitable it will be, but also things like how complex it will be to develop the product to comply with that local market regulation. So the UK, for example, or New Jersey, which has extremely challenging product requirements and extremely challenging operational requirements, will take a lot longer. Ukraine, I think, will be somewhere in the middle in terms of how difficult it will be. But yeah, it's only a matter of time before we are ready to enter more markets, and I really look forward to entering Ukraine. I have visited once in the past. Can't wait to go back. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? You, sir.
Hi, guys. My name is Law. I'm actually visiting from Dubai. So nice to see you guys. I have a question for Alex and Tom, maybe both you guys. Two-part. One is, in today's scenario, from big picture point of view, which do you think is actually healthier, live or online poker? I know they both have their challenges, but if you had to pick one, which would you say is healthier? And two, when you talk about expanding into new markets, which do you think is more important, live or online? You know, especially when you talk about getting into, let's say, new geographies, new markets.
So I'll start, and I think my view is that industry-wide, live poker is in a better, healthier state right now. I think online poker is facing, as an industry as a whole, online poker is facing some really difficult challenges, like bots, for example, and the use of real-time assistance, which we will talk about. I think it's tomorrow. I'm appearing on a panel tomorrow. So we'll get into it in some detail, and I'll talk about the history of that problem and how it's evolved and where we are today, and also talk about the threat that it brings to online poker in a bit more detail. Live poker, on the other hand, yes, it has challenges, but they are nowhere near as existential as the challenges that online poker faces. And you only have to look at how quickly how quickly live poker is growing at the moment. Look at the WPT World Championship, for example, or the World Series of Poker, and the growth that they've experienced over the last few years. It's clearly doing very well. I'll pass over to Tom.
Yeah, I would actually tend to agree. My answer was going down the line of it depends, but I hate when people answer like that. So I think on the online poker side, there are more barriers to growth because of the regulatory environment, right? And I think it's going to take a partnership between a lot of the major online organizations that have sports, casino, and poker to break down those barriers from a regulatory market the same way they did for sports betting. Now, a lot of those companies broke down the barrier for sports betting because there's a lot more money to be made in it, right? So now how can those processes be replicated for poker to help expand regulatory, expand geographically, whether it's in Europe or whether it's in the States? That's a barrier right now. I also think the cost for customer acquisition is quite high. New player acquisition online right now. Live poker, I think, the growth we see in live poker is a volume play. It's being driven so much, like we are in another poker boom, right? We are. But it's not like the old poker boom where it's like millions coming in because of online poker. It's like people in ones and twos because of influencer marketing and content creation and new poker rooms opening all over the place and people finding a passion for the game again, right? People are consuming poker content on YouTube more than they did years ago on TV. And that's really helping the boom in the live poker market. The thing that I think the live poker operational strategy needs to look into is this. How do operators make live poker more profitable, right? Live poker tournaments and poker tournaments traditionally have been a marketing vehicle for a variety of other types of avenues of poker. So in the live poker realm, yes, we're seeing this huge growth and explosion across the world. How are companies going to do it in a way that is more profitable for them? And then what percentage of that profit are they putting back into the business for new player acquisition, for existing player re-engagement? So I think those are the two challenges on each side, but I think in live poker, it's much easier to overcome that than it is the barrier of growth in online poker.
Thank you very much, Tom. Anyone else? Okay. Our six panelists. Yes, Alex, do you have a question between each other? This should be interesting and fun.
I don't have a question, but I do have a couple of observations based on what the other panelists have said. First is that Andrei's 38.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
Wow. I don't know what it is, but well,
it sucks being the bald guy when you're sandwiched between two guys with such great hair and look so young.
I'm getting myself some Romanian spring water or something like. Also, I'm also working on getting my session time above 1.2 minutes. Tough crowd.
Right, so
he's talking about poker, guys. Cash game poker.
My second observation is actually both Nataly and Tom referred to things that they had done at live poker festivals that allowed their participants to make memories. So Tom spoke about his free roll. It was the thing that everybody remembered afterwards. It wasn't the main event that they played. It was the free roll beforehand when they got to play against each other and learn from one of the pros. And Nataly spoke about queen rules and changing the game, and that will have been something that people still remember today. And I think that's absolutely crucial when it comes to both live, well, primarily live poker. I've played millions of online hands. Can remember maybe 5 of them, right? Live, the reason that people are there is to make memories that they remember for the rest of their lives. It's to fulfill their dreams. So important for us to find ways to make the live poker experience memorable. especially for our VIPs. That's one of my key takeaways from this panel.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with the whole with the making memories, and I think that's also, you know, when it comes down to players playing online. Throughout the years, I've seen also a lot of friendships basically blossoming in the live environment because they met each other online. So yeah, I totally agree with that part, to make it memorable, and I think you can only do that in a live setting.
Okay. Well, my takeaway from listening to all you wonderful people and all your expertise and your insight is, especially for live poker, what separates it from so many other activities and so many things we could do at a time is that experience. You want to have felt something as a result of playing live poker, akin to almost going to a live music festival, where you don't get that in other forms of gaming. You want that experience that I have these memories going forward forever. You should have been there when. Thank you very much, anyone. If we've any final questions? Andreas.
I've got a question for Alex. Alex, you mentioned before a new feature that you have on WPT in the cash games for the AI, let's say, regulating the tables in terms of expertise. But being at the edge and having discussed the competitive edge, how did the players react when you came into picture and removed that competitive edge, let's say, from the professional poker players, or while playing on the tables?
Yeah, so I mean,
what was the reaction from them? Sorry.
I'll be honest and say it was mixed, and one of the reasons for that is that people didn't understand it very well, and we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what is the best way to communicate what we're doing, because if we're not good at communicating it, people will assume that we're doing something nefarious and scary, whereas the reality is what we're doing is we're being completely transparent, and it's not scary at all. It's actually better for everybody. So once people understand it, they accept it generally, because they realize that no matter what kind of player you are, it's actually better for you. If you're a pro, you don't want to be at a table with 7 of the pros. You're not going to have a good time. You're not going to be successful. Similarly, if you're a complete novice playing your very first game, the last thing you want to be doing is playing against 7 professional players. You're not going to have a fun time, and you're not going to have any chance of succeeding. So our system, Fair Game, makes every game a great game. And once people understand it, they love it.
Absolutely, it's brilliant. And I must say that it was very brave from WPT to try this new feature and risk in terms of the players' reaction and how they conceive it. So yeah, well done.
Thank you. I mean, to echo Tom, I don't want to take all the credit, but I will.
You can. The evidence is here. Well, thank you everyone for this panel. If we've any last contributors? No. Thank you everyone for this panel. Will you please give a round of applause to our wonderful speakers?